The 4-song performance created for this project uses 4 sequencer patterns from the Octatrack per song. Patterns 1 to 4 are allocated to song 1, 5 to 8 to song 2, 9 to 12 to song 3, and 13 to 16 to song 4. When the user selects between a song's 4 patterns during a performance, a program change message is sent from the Octatrack to automatically recall the corresponding preset on all 4 of Lima's save panels. So at the moment you can see I'm in pattern 8, which is pattern 4 of song 2, and if I press play you'll see that preset 4 is selected on both of the save panels on the Lima, and the same is true on the drum page as well. If I switch to a different pattern, so we'll choose pattern 2 on song 2, and you can see the Octatrack selects preset 2 on all of Lima's panels. This allows the user to pre-associate pan positions, mixer levels and sub-patches with song sections in the studio prior to a performance. Depending on the current sync mode setting in Lima's panels, the settings are either recalled instantly with the new pattern or incrementally via sync recall. So if I set the Octatrack up to chain between patterns 2 and 4 and then switch on sync mode, for example, for both of my panels in the synth control page, and press play, we should see when the new preset is recalled from the Octatrack, sync recall is initiated. And you can see that it is. If during a performance the user would prefer to manually recall presets or to change patterns without recalling the associated preset settings, auto-recalling can be easily disengaged by switching off the corresponding MIDI tracks on the Octatrack. So these 4 MIDI tracks control the preset switching, and we can just disable them, like so. And now when I press play, I've still got the chain between the 2 patterns here on the Octatrack. And when the patterns change, you'll notice there are no presets recalled on the Lima. So, with it running this way, we can have the patterns changing between one another with the Octatrack, but I can then choose to manually change settings from the Lima controller, or of course manually trigger sync recall changes independent of those settings that were saved with the corresponding patterns in the studio. This could also be used when the user wishes to freely control parameters as performance ad-libs when playing live. So instead of recalling different positions by recalling presets, I could of course simply manually pan and manually change mixer settings and operate my mapped synth controls to change some of my sub-patch parameters if I wish. From here, the user can either manually recall a studio preset from Lima's save panels or switch the control channels back on and have previously designed pan positions, mixer levels and sub-patch parameters recalled automatically with the next pattern change. So if I just switch the control tracks back on now, we're still chaining the 2 patterns. Maybe I'll go into sync mode again, and even though I've moved all my settings away from any of the saved values, when the Octatrack triggers the preset again, of course, our studio saved settings will be recalled. Both drum and synth panners are controlled from a single MIDI track, making system-wide manual 3D panning possible, while mix and sub-patches continue to follow the saved settings. The panner views in the universe window will turn blue to alert the user when the system is in this manual 3D panning mode. So it's MIDI track 8 that is the panner controller. So if I disconnect that, and I'll keep this chaining between patterns 2 and pattern 4 playing. We should notice now that settings with the mixer and the sub patches change when the preset is triggered, but the no preset is triggered on the panner, meaning we're in manual pan mode. But the mixer and the sub patches are following the studio program settings that correspond to pattern 2 and pattern 4 in this case. If I look at the universe view, I can see that I've got a blue outline on my panners telling me I'm in manual pan mode. After I've finished ad-libbing with panning in my performance venue, I want to get back to the studio pan positions for this pattern. I simply turn back on the panning control channel, and then when the next pattern change occurs, the panning will return to the saved setting based on the sync settings and the measure values for each save panel. When a pattern from a new song is selected from the Octatrack, MIDI program change messages trigger a patch change on the instruments, and another MIDI message is sent to the lemur, which loads the preset save panels associated with the new song. The currently loaded panel is indicated by a small number on the save button of the panner panels and at the top of the mixer subpatch panel. Sync status and measure values are linked for each panel between songs, meaning that the user can alter the settings in preparation for a mix into a new song, choosing either an instantaneous switch or to set up a sync recall on a per panel basis to incrementally introduce new pan or mix or subpatch settings with the new song. So let's try that. I'm in pattern 4 of song 2 at the moment, and perhaps I will turn sync off for my mix and subpatch on the synth page, but I'll leave sync on for the panner, and then while we're playing back, we'll switch over to a pattern on song 3, and we should see that the mixer and the subpatches will change instantly to the new settings for the new song, whilst the panner settings are transitioning by sync recall.